Just a quick video just to show one of these sort of compost heaps. What I've got here, it's one of these Indian sandstone sort of raised sort of pallet. So it's a pallet with raised sides, so it's a bit like a kind of crate. And I've got the reclaimed floor protector sheet in there, and that's just filled up with brewery waste and kind of arborist wood chip. So it's got lots of green leaves in there, so it's a fairly good balance of carbons and sort of nitrogen. So it's really hot at the moment. It's probably about 65 Celsius or something like that. So if you can see where the it's sort of slightly shallower there. So what I've done here is I've raised up this area as well. There's a raised bed here which is going to be a hotbed, and it's going to have a cob frame on top as well, so it'll be a sort of heated greenhouse. And then this is wood chip. But what I've done, I've got these containers, so they're the 25 litre containers, and if you can just see closely, these are just kind of like my green roof lids. I've just got clover growing in there, and underneath it's quite hard to see because of the wood chip. You can just see the plastic edge of the 25 litre container there, so that just sits on top, just makes a little lid. What I've done here is this is just filled up with wood chip and woody material from the allotment. So what I thought it would do is in effect sort of insulate that hot heap at the back, and then make a kind of buffer zone for the worms to move into as that material heats up. And it also creates a good habitat for worms. So what you'll have is lots of part composted down wood chip, which is always good to use with compost as well if you've got fairly fast sort of decomposing materials, and you want to make a sort of fairly quick batch of fairly rough compost. It's quite good to have the part composted wood chip in there. It takes a lot less time to break down fully that way. So what I've done here, you can see there's at the moment there's only 2 of those green roof sort of containers with the clover, but what I thought I'd do is just cover that area, so then it gives you the ability to lift off the lid, take the 25 litre container out, and then you can use that material, fill up the container and drop it back. So it's, in a way, it's a way of building a compost bin without having lots of perishable sort of timber around the outside. So you actually use the containers as a retaining wall. So that was the idea. And what I've done here, I had some old concrete planters, and I've created a sort of little terrace just to disguise that big pile. So that's about 3 foot tall, 3'6" or something like that, and I've stepped it up with this sort of terrace. But what I'm doing on here, I've shown this before in a previous video, but these are the same containers. They're HDPE, but they've got an additive, so they're black, and I think they look a little bit more sort of discreet. And what I've done on those is I've drilled holes in the sides. You can see that one's got 9 holes, like a square with holes drilled in it, and then I've planted succulents and sedums around the outside just to kind of make a green wall. But that was an experiment. I just wanted to sort of see how it would work, and it's worked really quite well. And I've got the ivy leaf toadflax on there, and that's really filling in nice. So what I thought I'd do is, as a continuation of this sort of compost area, is terrace it, but with the green wall containers. So then you can grow green manures, and you can just have a little bit of interest as well, as opposed to just a blank sort of timber compost bin side. And it's good habitat as well. It's good for pollinators. These are flowering at the moment, little tiny flowers, so it's quite sweet. Those white containers, what I'm going to do is use those for the containers that are inside the actual beds themselves. So where the coal frame is going to go, the sort of hotbed, I filled that with the containers, so when it's time to empty it or turn it, you can just lift the containers up, and then you haven't got to do any back-breaking sort of leaning over and digging to remove the material. So you can just sort of fairly easily lift those containers up. If they're too heavy, it's easy enough just to remove a little bit of material, just to lighten them up, and then you can easily get the container out. The only issue is getting the first one out, which is quite awkward, but once one's out, the other ones got a bit of wiggle room, and then you can sort of move those to pull them out. But I like the idea of using these green roof containers just as lids on compost bins as well. Obviously it wouldn't, well, depends how much wood chip on top, but you could actually grow those on the hotbed as well and propagate plants that way. So where I've got the white containers, I'll replace those with these sort of green wall containers. I think that'll look really sweet. So there's 4-foot square compost bin there. There's the Balaam crate, the Indian sandstone crate there, and then there's one of these ones which is just slats that fit together to make a compost bin. So that area is basically all compost, but I'm trying to kind of make it a bit more visually appealing and somewhere sort of point of interest in the allotment as opposed to just creating compost. What's quite good is once you've got these areas set up, there's no urgency to sort of empty them and use the area to make more compost, because you can actually grow sort of straight on top as well, and then when you really need the compost, it'll be that much more mature and have that much more sort of fungal activity and worm activity too. So I'll just move around here so you can see on this side. I've been doing some work, so it's all of it up and so yeah, you can see it's quite tall, but I think having that green really round the sides really sort of disguises it and makes it look quite attractive. So definitely continue with that, and I quite like the idea of using these almost as raised beds as well, so you could have loads of those and create terraces and things like that. I kind of look at them a bit like the blocks in Minecraft, so you could have different materials. Some have got planters, some are like this with compost, some are wood chips, so you can sort of build up the structure. And because they're sort of heavy and square sided, they fit together quite well, and they make quite a sort of robust retainer. And the good thing is about them, they don't break down, so you haven't got to worry about replacing timber, so it gives you that flexibility. Yeah, so I think that's quite successful. That I've got air tubes in the corner of that bin, but because there's so much wood chip, it doesn't really need that much aeration. And then I've got the sort of plunge tank down here. I've got wormeries down there as well, but I'm sort of trying to tidy up this area a little bit. I've made a ramp there, but I'll probably get rocks and things and make it a bit more landscaped at some point. But yeah, it looks quite good, I think.